Hello everybody, this is Janelle Meredith, Counting X's with Dr. Janelle Meredith. This is Floss Tube number 2. It's Saturday, April 16th, it's Easter weekend, and I'm very excited to be here with you today and give you an update on everything that's happened in the last month. It has been crazy. It's been a wild ride and I've loved every moment of it. So first off, I made us some snickerdoodles. So the picture inserted here is a cross-stitch pattern that I made, probably 20 years ago, never enough time. And I feel like that right now, never enough time to do everything I want to do. So grab some cookies, a donut, a cinnamon roll, some coffee, some milk, whatever you're hungry for, and let's go through some of my new updates that I want to share with you. First of all, I stand corrected in what I said last Floss Tube about my big toe designs. It's my big toe and not my big fat toe, which is the way I think I said it. And so I apologize to the designer. I meant no disrespect. And then I said the Whitney auction, and I meant the Whitney Antiques, which is in the UK. I believe it's in London. And so again, that's where Jane Greenoff was going to collect the Educated Stitch books. And so she did send that to me along with some other books. And I'm thinking maybe next month I review or share with you all the books she sent me, and then some of the really amazing books I've been picking up at thrift shops and used bookstores. Some really cool ones about embroidery. So I'm excited to share that with you next time. And then someone asked, where does my doctorate come from? Why I'm using that in my name. So I have a doctorate in healthcare administration. I think I shared with you last month the influence my grandfather had on me when I would go stay with them in the summers. He was a brilliant man. He worked for the Santa Fe Railroad, and then he also was a barber on the weekends in their little community. He was short, everyone called him Shorty, and Raymond, it was Ramon Gonzalez. And so he really talked to me as a child about being able to read and write in English and Spanish. And then my parents were very big on education for all of us kids, all 7 of us. And so we've had a lot of success in our family with everyone attaining bachelor's, master's degrees. I have a sister that's a principal of a high school. I have a sister that's a VP of a printing company in Texas. I have a sister serving in the military. I have a brother who was just awarded and recognized and will be awarded to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, and that's a very big honor, so we're very proud of him. And so for me, my journey, and I say that knowing that my mother had a plan for each one of us 7 kids and what we were going to do in life. You were going to be a teacher, you were going to be a nurse, or you were going to be a secretary, right? So back then, we weren't told we could go be part of NASA or be some kind of scientist. It was kind of in a box about where your career path was. And so for me, she thought I would be a great nurse. So she enrolled me in CNA classes in our local hospital, St. Catherine's, and my mother was a CNA there. So I took the course, and then I worked a summer on the night shift as a CNA, and just felt such a tug to that about how we are present for patients in very vulnerable situations. So I'm not going to cry. If I say that, then I won't cry. So I remember working with the nurses, the RNs and the LPNs. I loved being a CNA. I loved helping them, helping our patients. So after high school, my mother said, do you want to go to RN school? And I said, well, I do. I want to go to nursing school, but I think I want to be an LPN, because in my mind, what I saw happening in my experience, what I saw happening was the LPN was at the bedside doing the back rubs, giving the medication, doing the treatments, and the registered nurse had to sit at the desk as the charge nurse and work with the doctors, make sure the orders were taken off and that we all followed the orders, the treatment plan, the care plan for our patients. So I really wanted that one-to-one with my patients. So I went to LPN school. I did that for 15 years. I worked in doctor's offices, urgent cares, hospitals, nursing homes, and I just feel like I had the best career. And as I worked, my supervisors would encourage me to go back to school. You need to go back to school. You need to be an RN. You can be in leadership. You can do this. You can do that. So once the girls were in grade school, I did go back to school. I went to community college. Now, I'm not good at math, so I needed to take some of those basic courses to get into nursing school. And so I had a long route. I had to take some basic classes, and then I got into the nursing program, got my associate degree in nursing, and then I loved being in school. I loved learning. And so I went back and I did my bachelor's degree in nursing. Well, then I wasn't done. My instructors encouraged me to get my master's. And so I thought, oh, well, sure, I need to get my master's in nursing. So off I went back to school, continued on this journey, educational path of education. And then when I was done with my master's, a big thing going on along in our healthcare system was everyone was going back to get their doctorate. Either a doctorate in nursing practice, a doctorate in nursing education, or a doctorate in healthcare administration. And so when I talked to my mentor, he was like, I think you could do any of them. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do healthcare administration. So for 5 years, I focused on school, writing my dissertation. I did my quantitative study on cultural competency in the emergency department. And it was great to be in San Antonio when we were there, to be able to do my study at one of the big hospitals. Now, as I was earning my educational degrees, I was also being promoted in nursing leadership, manager, director, all kinds of roles, chief nursing officer. I will tell you, I've loved every job. I loved being at the bedside. I loved being a charge nurse. I loved being a director of a team. I really, really enjoyed being the chief nursing officer of a small hospital in Texas. And through all of that, I gained so much from every job and from the people that I came in contact with and the patients that we took care of. So I've had an amazing career. I've loved it. So I'm a nurse and I have a doctorate in healthcare administration. So after my last floss tube, we're going to be moving in a few months. So I took down the room that I showcased last month and took down that big bookcase, and then I took down all the vintage sewing machines that I had in these cubbies over here. And a lot of my cross stitch, I made a boxed up tons of stuff. We're staging the house, and so we're excited. And I'm going to have a craft room, office room in the next house we move into. Now, I've been watching those Home Depot commercials about a she shed and how that woman sits in her she shed outside with the doors open, fresh air, sitting there in her little office working. And so I keep telling my family that I want a she shed that's more of a craft she shed at the new place where we go to. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think I'm going to get a bedroom again and I'll turn it into my craft room office. So I'm excited about that. So a week and a half ago, I went to Kansas. I went to check on my dad. He's widowed now. He's in his 80s. And my dad has overcome open heart surgery. He's overcome throat cancer. And he's now able to eat again. So I loaded up the car with cinnamon rolls, meatloaf, scalloped potatoes, fresh fruit, fresh bread from the bakery here in town. And was really happy to go visit him. It had been, I believe, over a year since I had been home. The pandemic has kept us isolated from our families. And so for me, this was a great trip. I was going to go see my dad. I was going to pick up the Singer Red Eye that my sister got me. And I was going to be able to just bring him all this comfort food. And he was like, it's too much. You've brought too much. And so, but he was happy to try everything. And then my sister had tried to show him my floss tube, and he just was like, couldn't get it. Like, what is she doing? What is that? And he doesn't understand YouTube, but that's okay. So when I was there, we sat down and I put it on my laptop and I had closed captioned on so he could read it. And really, I just wanted him to see how I talked about my grandmother and my mom, and I don't remember everything I talked about. So anyway, everything I shared. And so he said, Mija, you've been doing that for a long time, referencing my cross stitch, because obviously I always had gifts that I gave to my mom and to my sisters. And so he knows that I do this, he calls it sewing. What are you sewing over there? And so it was fun to watch that with him. And when it finished, I said, well, this is how many people have watched it. And on that day, I don't remember the number, but I called out the number. And he said, looked at me and he said, well, they should give you a medal for that. So that was pretty cute. I don't know why he thinks I need a medal for doing something on the, I think for him it's like TV or something, like, oh, she's out there broadcasting something. So anyway, he got a kick out of it. I got a kick out of his response. And so that was really fun. And then my husband, when I got back from Kansas, Kevin went home to the farm to check on his folks who are elderly also. And he was able to share the floss tube with them and they enjoyed it too. So this is, like I said, this has been fun. I gained so much from all of you and enjoy your floss tubes. When I was driving to Kansas, I was able to put floss tube on. I listened to Brenda Laura. It was their update. Was that a week and a half ago, I believe, not quite 2 weeks ago. And then I listened to some other floss tubes. And so I thought, well, this is a pretty cool way to travel. Usually just have music on or the radio with news. And so I thought that was great. It's about a 6-hour drive. So I explained to you about my name, my dad. I picked up my Singer Red Eye. It's right here behind me. Don't know if you can see it right there. And then I want to talk to you about the research I've been doing. So someone commented that maybe I should try the Denver Art Museum to see if they had any Mexican samplers that I could look at, that they would share with me, that maybe I could reproduce. So I did write to, I sent an email to the Denver Art Museum, to the textiles department, and a gal by the name of Emily has been emailing me. And so she's checking into it. Obviously, there has to be permission, authorization for me to even do something like that. And so I appreciate her efforts to look into it. And with the pandemic, the Denver Art Museum had been closed to tours. They're now open again. And so I'm thinking maybe in the next few weeks, just see where COVID's going here in Colorado. Maybe I can go up to the Denver Art Museum and see meet Emily and talk to her about all of it. They do have this amazing exhibition going on right now from Mexico called La Maliche, and it's about a woman that's an icon in Mexico who was an interpreter for a Spanish conquistador, and so she was revered. And there's a lot of politics in it. If you go to the Denver Art Museum and look up La Maliche, you can read all about it. I won't do it justice in just trying to even speak to it. It's amazing. And in this exhibit is a tapestry, a Mexican tapestry depicting history at that time and what happened, embroidered tapestry that's 100 feet long. I just am like stunned. Now, you can download the app on your iPad or your iPhone and see it. You can't do it on your laptop. And so again, I'm hoping we can go there and we'll look at that exhibit too and just kind of get a better understanding of all of that. I mean, it just sounded amazing. Then another thing that I came across in my research for Mexican embroidery is an article by, it's actually her dissertation. So Rebecca Devaney, I'm just going to show this real quick. This is what I pulled off the internet. She's from Ireland, and she was doing her master's thesis on embroidery, Mexican embroidery. So she got a grant, she got monies to go to Mexico, and she was there for several weeks, going to all the small towns, doing a qualitative study, what's the word I want to say, interviewing the people there about their embroidery. How did they come to they don't have patterns, they just sit and do these beautiful embroidered pieces, the clothing, what does it mean, how do for the women it's a way to make money, it's a way to pass on their family history. I mean, it was very in-depth reading this PDF article about Rebecca Devaney. And then her work from all of this has been showcased in Paris, in Dubai, a couple places around the world. I mean, this is like this really big deal. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So I'm going to put information about the Denver Art Museum and about Rebecca Devaney and her work if you're interested in reading more about Mexican embroidery. And then as I've watched people, I see people like designing their own. And so my daughter said, well, why can't you design your own? I'm like, well, I could. I hadn't thought of that. So I bought that grid paper. I had it laying here. I don't see it now, where you X out and just design it. So I'm going to play with that. I'm going to see what I can do. I have some ideas. But I also would need a new computer. Christmas will be here shortly. How far are we from Christmas? I already had a birthday. Well, I need a new computer, and then I would need to download a software. I heard on Teresa's floss tube, she uses Max Stitch. I reached out to Macy, and she uses PC Stitch. And I reached out to Jan Hicks, who has done some designs and actually did a Spanish sampler, not a Mexican sampler, Spanish one. And so she and I communicated back and forth, and she uses Max Stitch. I believe that's what she told me. So there are programs out there to help you do this. So I'm excited. We'll see where all of this goes. I've enjoyed the research. I've enjoyed communicating with our peers out there in floss tube land to see how they got a start and how they're doing. So great stuff to come. Then I was out antiquing and I found this beautiful, scoot over, sampler tapestry. I'm going to call it embroidered tapestry. As you can see, and I'll insert a photo, we have the ABCs, and then you go down the middle and you have people and animals. At the bottom are some initials. You really can't make it out. It's N, G, C, G again, or maybe that's a U. And then there's a D at the end, but it does say 1886. And then all of these little border samples that come down the side. So I will tell you, when I, after my last floss tube, I was talking about Mexican samplers, wanting to find a reproduction. So there's an antique store in Fort Collins that when we lived there, I used to go there all the time. And I remembered seeing this there. That was probably like 10 years ago. I mean, maybe even longer, because we left the state and then we came back. And maybe it was when we came back that I went up there and saw this in a back part of this big metal building, this big antique mall is what it is. And I remember just thinking, oh, that's really cool. It's different, and that's not where I was at the time in interest in this type of a sampler. Didn't recognize even myself the value of it or thought about the origins of it. So I'm there, and she has now moved it to, when you walk in the doorway, it's right there in your face, like on that wall. And I was like, oh, she moved it. So I went over to look at it to see the price. Now, in my mind, I recall it being at $1,000. I could be wrong. But the tag now said $500, and it had a mark through it and a scribbled, and I couldn't read it. I didn't have my reading glasses with me. So I asked the shop owner, I said, what is it priced at now? And so she said $450. And I said, oh, okay. Now I think I've told you guys, I've rescued things for like $20. So I was like, oh, okay, let me just look around. So I think she put it up at the desk for me because she knew I liked it. So I walked through the whole antique mall looking to see if I could find a Mexican sampler. I didn't find one. So I came back up to talk to her about this one. And if you notice, there's a little hole right there. It's been damaged. And so I asked her about that. I said, oh, do you see that there's a hole there? She said, yes. Okay, $300. That's about what I paid for it. And I'm like, okay. So she shared with me that she picked this up at an estate sale. The husband remarried. Second wife didn't like antiques, and they had to sell everything. And so she picked this up. And so I brought it home. I was pretty excited about it. Like, oh my goodness, I wanted an antique sampler to reproduce, and now I have one. So I kind of was like amazed, number one. Number two, like, oh my gosh, now what am I going to do? So I reached out to Jane Greenoff, and she's so sweet. She got right back to me, and she said, you're right. It's from England. It's a Berlin woolwork, and Victorian era probably, and have fun charting this. I was like, yeah, oh, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Then I reached out to the attic needlework, and the ladies there got back to me, and they sent me over to Needlework Press to Vicki. So I reached out to Vicki, and Vicki has let me know she's going to do some research, and so everyone's agreeing this is Berlin woolwork. So of course I had to go like research Berlin woolwork and what does that mean, and why was it so popular back in the day, and how did this come into focus along with other types of embroidery work, including cross stitch. So I'm going to add just show this to you real quick, Berlin woolwork, and this is an article out of PieceWork magazine that I found on the internet. I did download this. I paid $10. It's from March, April of 2011. But they have this beautiful article then about Berlin woolwork, and beautiful pictures for you to see, and then they even include a free pattern that you can do one yourself. And it's a little pin cushion is what it ends up being. So this was really fun to find this magazine and explain all about the history. It's on canvas, the colors, they did use silks. And I think different people used it differently is my understanding from reading about this from different sources. Also in that article, in that magazine, was this article about reds, and I know we all love red, and so I was like, oh, what is that? So it was about red work and seeing red and the color red, and this chart here, this picture of a sampler. There's no free chart on for any of this. Well, I take that back. Nope, there isn't. It was more about an article about red. So, and now I've subscribed to PieceWork, and I'm getting stuff in the mail, and they do amazing articles, so that's really exciting. So we'll see what happens with this big piece, and I'm excited about the journey with it. Now I'm going to transition. I know we're all still concerned about the invasion in Ukraine. Brenda and Laura talked about supporting, oh shucks, I don't have her name written down, the woman that's making the Ukraine project bags. Apparently after we were informed about it, she was overwhelmed, overloaded, and had too many orders and had to put it all on pause. So she and I have communicated, and once she's up to speed and kind of feel like she can open it up again for orders, she will let me know, because I do want to support Ukraine that way and buy a project bag. So I'm excited about that. Then what else here? Let's see. I think I'm going to go ahead and share with you what I've gotten done. When I shared last time, I was working on Lina. Sorry, I have to reach over. And I got Lina done. I think I was halfway. Can't remember. So, is that getting the glare? We're getting the glare. I'm sorry. Let me go over here, maybe. I found this frame at an antique store for $20. It's a little bit large, as you can see from the bottom. There's all that space. But I felt like Lina should have all that space. I felt like that was perfect. Perfect frame for that piece, and I love the way it turned out. I finished the Blackbird freebie, the French red alphabet. I took a piece of cream Belfast linen, and I wanted to make it look old, right? So I've tea dyed in the past. I've coffee stained and baked linen in the oven to get the colors to take. And I couldn't find the directions again, an article on how to do it. So I thought, well, I'll just try this on my own. So I put it in tea. Then I put it in black coffee, let it sit there for about 15 minutes. And then for good measure, I took coffee grounds and swooshed them all over the fabric. And so yeah, I've got some striations in here that you can see. The rest of the fabric is beautiful, but unfortunately where I stitched, you don't get the full effect of all that tea dye, coffee dye, and smush coffee grounds to give this old look to this piece of linen. So, and then this frame I found at the antique store. Again, it's really old. It had this Victorian print from Paris in it. So I did have to pay $20 for the frame. This says copyrighted 1940. And it's a beautiful Paris print. I'll hold on to that and use it somewhere in my house. Anyway, I got these two projects done. Very excited. Got them framed, and that'll be great to find a place for them. And then I wanted you to see the little girl samplers that I did. I know this bottom one is a Brenda Gervais, Betsy Snyder. I don't remember if Margaret Cotton is a Brenda Gervais. And then this Cornelia Neinenberg. I don't know how to pronounce it, 901. I don't remember what pattern I bought that from. And then these two, let me point the right direction. Nope, I'm back over here. These two samplers I rescued. So this bottom one I found at an antique store. Turn the camera. And I had it professionally framed. And then the top one I also found in an antique store, and it was in a black frame. I love the heart hanger. It was stitched in 1996. And so the framer did a great job redoing that one. And then this little one, the child sampler, it says Annie, but I think that might be an R. Army. It's Army Clot. Let me just grab it. 1930. And I found that at an antique store, and I'm getting a glare in Loveland. So very sweet. I would like to reproduce this one, this child sampler. So again, I'm gonna be doing some more research about what I would need to do all of that, and practice obviously for a while before I put anything out there. So I'm just gonna check my notes here because I got Lina done, I got the red, French red letters done, and now I'll show you my whips, and then we'll go to my new starts. So everyone was interested in the Russian sampler, and people were looking on Etsy to purchase. I did go back and look, and her name is Marie. I don't remember the last name, I apologize. She's closed down for right now, and I think we can all understand why. So I was gonna put this to do later and decided, well, let me go ahead and get started. I will tell you from listening to all of you out there, you guys have some great ideas. There's the one idea that Macy talked about doing 25 minutes, 24/7. I think that's it, 25 minutes, 24/7, where you take a whip and before you start another project, you devote so many minutes to that one, and then you could stay with it or you could go on to another whip. So I really like that idea. I thought that was kind of cool. So if you guys remember, here's a picture of the Russian red the Russian alphabet. It's not red. It does have colors in it. And I had a piece of smoky white, 32 count smoky white linen that I had bought from Kitten Stitcher 2 years ago. It's just been sitting there. So I pulled it out. I pulled out the DMC. I've got a tiny start on there. Let me make sure you can see all these colors because there's a gray in there. Gray and the pinks. So I've got a tiny start. I was going I was starting with over 1, but I think I'm going to go to over 2, so it will show up more. This is a huge piece, and of course this piece is huge. 207 by 340, so that, to me, that's huge. So I've got that I'll be working on. And I'm going to try this idea of every day just devoting a certain amount of time to that. And then I haven't gotten far with my Adam and Eve. I'm putting these up like this so it'd be easy for you guys to see. So there's the colors, the pattern, and kind of what I've done. I've done A and E. That's all I've done on this piece. So I'm hoping maybe this weekend I can put some time into this one. And then I have a pattern, that I did a long time ago, and I came across the booklet again on, might have been Etsy or eBay, and it's Cedar Hill Country, the measurement booklet. And I did that back when it came out a gazillion years ago. I gifted it to my sister. I did it in greens. And when it popped up, I went ahead and bought it. Got this piece of linen that I, again, tea dyed, coffee dyed, and smooshed coffee grounds on to give an old look. And I'm going to use this navy, black, and cream colors on this for the measurement. So sorry guys, let me see if I can fix this so you can actually see the measurement sampler. See how cute that is? It has all the measurements that you need in the kitchen for cooking and baking. And I love blue, navy blue, red. Those are my favorite colors. So that'll be fun to I decided just to do a little bit and just to get it started. And then when I'm in the mood, I can just pull it up. And then since I finished my red French alphabet, I decided to do this. Now, this pattern, when the queen is happy, there's peace in the kingdom. I saw this on Kitten Stitcher, and I tried to order it, and it was out of stock. And she recently reached out and said, it's back in. So I hurried and ordered it. I ordered, she has a great shipping rate of $3. So I ordered some La-Di-Da's, the newest ones for market. Felt like I needed to order something and make it a substantial order. And then this this is a 36 count Vintage Country Mocha. I like that fabric. I have another piece that I was going to use for something and try to use it for this, but it just wasn't big enough. So I had to go up to the stitching store and get, to the cross stitch store and get more linen. And then I'm using Falu Red from Leo and Roxy. Love that red. So in January, when I was listening to Nicole, she, I think she referenced Jacob. I went over to listen to Jacob, and he was talking about Leo and Roxy. Maybe that was that collaboration he was doing. And he talked about Falu Red, and that was his new favorite red. And I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. I got to order it. So I did back in January. And then I got some more colors from them. Some gray blacks. This red is a very Christmassy red. And then some steel gray. So it came like this. Very sweet. I love their stuff. This is a grouping of Schoolhouse Red from Gentle Arts that I ordered when I was doing the sacre coeur. So, very excited about all of that. I think that's all I have. My Lakeside linen. Oh, there's a needle. Get it on the needle minder. Sent me my Caravan tan that I'm going to use for fruits. What is that? For Jacob's Modern Folk Embroidery. Fruits of Plenty. There we go. Remember the Kansas City girl living in Colorado used this with a navy and green for hers. This has a lot of brown, that caramel. It is Caravan tan. So I'm excited to go up to Denver to the sit shop and see what navy and greens we can put on this, and we might go in a whole different direction. I'm not really sure, but I love the fabric. I'm glad it finally came. It took a while. So I have a little basket here of all my goodies. but I'll save that for next month. And I'll also, like I said, talk about some of these antique books, or not antique books, but books that I've been buying and finding about embroidery. Some of them are old, some of them are newer. And I will put everything in the comments below, in the box below, for reference for you guys. And again, just want to say thank you so much for your support. This is a lot of fun. I now, when I stitch, instead of watching reruns of old television shows that I like, I've now got Floss tube, I've got my table with all my cross stitch stuff, and I'm stitching away listening to you guys, and then I have to stop because I'm like, oh, I never saw that pattern. I gotta write it down. I gotta figure out if I've got any money left in my stash fund, my cross stitch stash fund, to buy anymore. And but I sure enjoy the beauty and seeing all of your guys' works. And I'm going to put some other floss tube people that I've been watching who I think are just, everyone's amazing. I don't want to have favorites or say this person is above everyone else. I just know it's been a joy to see their work on their walls, and I just think you would also enjoy it. So it's more about just sharing what I'm learning and what I'm seeing, and I know we find joy. And so I hope everyone has a great weekend. I will see you in a month. Bye-bye.